So Robin, for someone that's never come across your work before, how would you describe what you do?
So I'm known as the pricing guy, effectively. So pricing and money mindset. I mostly now work with coaches, consultants, freelancers, traditional time for money based businesses. We run a business accelerator. So the idea is that over a period of sort of 3 to 6 months, roughly, we take our clients from charging time for money, package up their offer, and then hopefully go and charge more. And I think in a digital world where, you know, everybody, when they think about growing their business, they're thinking about it from a marketing perspective, I've got to go and get more clients. We think about it completely the opposite way. We're kind of like, focus on doubling your revenue, but we can do that with half the clients. And so then if you've got half the clients, you need to do half the sales calls, you need to do half the amount of marketing, in theory.
So making it a little bit easier for the founder.
Yeah.
Okay, really interesting. And what's really interesting about this as well is that a lot of people who run sort of coaching businesses haven't done it themselves. They haven't been in the trenches.
Yeah.
Whereas you have, right? You've built, scaled, and sold businesses over the last 20 years. And so what I'm interested in to start with is, when you think back, is there a moment that shaped how you approach your business and your teaching today that you can think of and go, that was the moment that really started the whole thing?
Well, most of it was a bit of a happy accident, I think, along the journey. Kind of, mentoring and coaching wasn't such a big thing 20 years ago when I first started out. So we can't, big in the States, but not in the UK. It wasn't, you know, it was almost a bit of a, oh, you've got a coach. Why do you need a coach? You know, when I started in 2004. But one of the things which really transformed it for me, there was this amazing book which I read probably about 4 years into my agency days, so about 2008, 2009. There's a book called Built to Sell by a guy called John Warrillow. Yeah. And in it, it's kind of told as a fable, like a parable of this guy who runs this agency. And he one day decided he'd been doing it for 20 years and he's had enough of it. So he wants to sell his agency, and he goes to speak to his mentor, and his mentor says, well, basically it's worthless. And so then the book unpacks like how to build value into a business, how to make it scalable, how to build products, how to build a team to then deliver those products. And I think having read that, but I think the year I read that book, my agency, we doubled in revenue that year. You know, wow. Still we only had modest revenue. We were like a local agency, but yeah, I read the book, applied 2 or 3 of the principles, and off we went.
Wow, is that a book that you tell everyone to read these days?
I give it to my clients now. So whenever a new client joins my Fearless Business, we send them a book out amongst a couple of others. And actually, I have a space. If anybody sort of sees some of my videos, there's a shelf behind me which has my Guinness World Record, a couple of awards which I've won, and then a picture of my family. This isn't in any particular order, by the way, obviously, family photos first. But then also I have a copy of my original copy of Built to Sell, because it was that much of a turning point for me.
Wow. What's the Guinness World Record for?
At the time, it was the largest speed networking event.
Oh, you hosted it?
No, I didn't host it. I took part in it. So I think there was 487 of us who took part. So wow. It was something which Dan Priestley put together for one of his brand accelerator events. Yeah,
no way, that's awesome. Okay, so something that I've often heard you say is that 90% of what you need to learn in business comes from selling something. Yeah. Why is that something that you harp on about? Why is that the thing that really resonates with you and you want to get the message across? Yeah,
well, again, most business owners, when they're first starting out, they intellectualize everything, and it just comes from our education. We're taught before you do anything, you've got to research it, and you've got to write about it, and you've got to put a plan together, and you've got to do all of these things. Then finally you can get out there. Great if you're putting a rocket on the moon, or putting a stunt together for something or other. But when it comes to business, there's only 2 things that can really go wrong in business. So the first one is, you can look a bit dumb. So to your friends and family or other people in business, you can just look a bit stupid if things don't go to plan. The second thing that can go wrong in business is maybe you lose a bit of money. And the reality is that both of those you can come back from quite easily. You can get a job or not speak to your friends and family ever again if you're too embarrassed, basically. But so I'm very pro, like, okay, if you've got an idea for a business, you want to, and that's really like a hypothesis. So we thought up an idea for a business. Rather than get lost in building websites, getting your branding done, getting your social media set up and posting loads of content and everything else that all the experts and gurus these days tell you to do. The idea is that you're just going to go out to market and see if anybody wants the thing which you've come up with the idea for.
I think that's so powerful, because like you say, everyone does get so obsessed with the wrong things. And like your brand around being fearless, take a shot, the book, I love that because it really resonates with me, because when we started our business, we did exactly that. We did the websites, we did the logos, we did the brand guidelines, everything we probably shouldn't have done. we didn't go out and try to make the sales, which then you realize, oh, sales is actually really hard and no one cares about the website colors. And actually, if we'd have just taken a shot and gone and asked first, and I'm pretty sure it might have been Dan Priestley's episode with Ali Abdul, podcast that you're very familiar as a previous guest. I'm pretty sure he takes Ali through exactly that as well, right? Where he's like, if you want to have some sort of product, literally just get some paper out and show the person what it might look like. Same in a recent episode we put out, I was talking about what my old boss taught me when we used to work in product, and he'd put a piece of paper in front of people and just go, what would you click? What would you press? You just get it straight away. So you're creating something in the market, not in your mind. You're taking it out. Where did that sort of philosophy of take a shot and be fearless come from for you?
So again, it's back in the agency days. So I read Built to Sell, and in it, there's a specific piece which is about understanding like what your process is. So most people, they want to define like this perfectly like, step-by-step process to get a client from A to B. And we kind of had this really elongated like logo design process where, and I call it design agency ping pong, right? Where you take a new client on, and then you get the brief back. You kind of agree the brief. You knock up some some composite logos. They decide, oh, we want the color from this one, the emblem from this one, and the font from that one. So you kind of smush the three things together. You send back another composite. But this process happens over like 3 months, say. And at the time, we were just billing for the design work we did. So I'll round off the numbers to make it simple. But we used to charge like, say, £50 an hour at the time. But we mainly bill for like 10, 12 hours over the course of those 3 months just for the work, not the communication, like the creativity piece. So one day this guy walked into my office and he says, Robin, listen, and we worked with him before, so he was already warm, but they had like a suite of products, and the guy said, look, we've got a product we're launching on Monday, and let's say this was Tuesday before. We've got this product launching on Monday, we need a logo for it, we trust you to do it, can you come on? And I was like, no, it's too long, so you can't make it work. And he said, come on, you're a smart guy, you must be able to do something. So, and I'd had this idea bubbling around in my head that I was like, if we got the client, the designer, and me in a room together, we could probably just bash through our 7-step logo design process and create something. So I pitched it to him. I just said, look, I think we can make this work. I said, if you've got Thursday free, I think I can free up one of my designers. We'll get in a room and I think we can get it done, like build up an electronic version logo. And he went, yeah, sounds great, sounds perfect. So I was like, great. And then he asked me the $60 million question, how much? And I was like, well, my only frame of reference was like a day's work at £50 an hour. And I was like, but he wants it fast. Do you remember the time, quality, cost triangle? It's like, if you want it done well and you want it done fast, it's not going to be cheap. So I was like, right. And I blurted out £1,500. So effectively like 3 times our usual rate. He said yes, without thinking. His next question was, can you remind me of your bank details? I'll transfer it now. So I'm like, my mind's blown, because I'm like, one, we've tripled through on our prices, typical prices. And the second thing is we're taking payment in full in advance. For this workshop. And the workshop we got everybody together on the Thursday. We started like 8:30 in the morning. He didn't leave till 6:30. It was a bit clunky, but we got him there. He got his logo and he launched on the Monday, and he was like super pleased. The next lesson, which I got after that, which again just blew my mind. So about 3 weeks after that, and I'd been working with a mentor as well at this point, a really amazing guy called Nick, who was like a sales expert. And Nick phoned me up and he's like, Rob, are you still doing your logo design, one-day branding workshops, as we called it? Because you've got to give them funky names at this point. Yeah, of course. So you're still doing your one day? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. He said, well, I need one in York. Can you get up to York tomorrow? And I was like, Nick, I live down in the Cotswolds, like 1,500 quid to travel up to York, do a day's work. So I'm not interested. So I said, no, turned it down. And he said, oh, give me 5 minutes. I'll come back to you. Calls me back 5 minutes later and he said, you're going to want to probably do this. He said, I've booked you for 18 grand. Whoa. I'm already in the car up the M5.
Yeah, I bet you are.
So we've now 10x through on our price, which we'd already tripled through on. So we're like 30 times the original. I mean, that gig was a bit of an outlier. We didn't have anybody quite at that level after, but we did lots of 1,500, 2.5K, 5K sort of one-day branding workshops with clients. And again, they paid the money in full on the way up there. I paid Nick 20% as a thank you, as you do. And then, but that really opened my eyes up to like how do you package up an offer? How do you articulate the value around it without having to like build a website, build a brochure? Like, you know, it was literally just a concept I had up here, and somehow without garbling it too much, I managed to, you know, sell it to somebody.
Yeah, and it's almost like completely counterintuitive that you'd go from taking 3 months to taking 1 day and charging more.
Yeah.
That must have really, I can imagine that happening in your mind going, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
I found, you know, entrepreneurial founder mindset, you go, I found something here.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity.